Welcome in. It is Tuesday morning, May 17th, 7:31 a.m., 1 minute late, and it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, good friend and co-host out there in Atlanta, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing just fine. Let's make sure we're bringing in our Facebook groups too. We
Of
don't want
course.
anybody to miss out today, so we'll bring those guys in. And just a lovely spring morning.
Nice.
And welcome in everybody. Hopefully, those of you who looked at the graphics yesterday for 30 minutes because it didn't refresh on your end, hopefully you're in here today. So it's a lovely morning in the South here in Atlanta, GA. But I'm ready to talk some Broncos country, among other things, in the NFL today.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, you guys lead the chat here, especially in the off season. So if there's anything you want us to get into, make sure you're asking it and contributing in the community and in the comment section, and we'll get into it. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule and kind of go by the game by game, week by week, and see where we land. I haven't done this yet, so it's going to be pretty organic. Not a lot of predetermined thoughts. Obviously, you have thoughts about the Broncos, but how do they match up with these teams? Before we get into that, though, want to say hello to everybody in the chat over in YouTube. We got Ethan saying good morning, good afternoon, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. Always fun to talk with you, and glad you're here with us. Luke Wright's also in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you, Luke. Michael Ronquillo coming in. Good morning, Broncos country. He also says good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Thank you. Jay Valentine coming in here saying yo. Yo to you, Jay. Hope you're doing well. Mile High Truth. Mile High Truth always likes to say good hello, but then he kind of dips out. So we know you're here, Mile High Truth. Hey, ladies and fellas. Good to see you, Mile High Truth. And happy Tuesday to you. Bama X also. Good morning, Broncos country. Clee coming in with a go Avs. I guess I probably shouldn't. I'm very much a fair weather hockey fan, but I should not let my hockey allegiance known on here because they play the Avs. So I guess I just let it know. But EJ
Let's
coming in
see.
saying,
There's two teams. Let me see if I can figure this one out.
huh,
I still
my
wouldn't know
family.
who that is. If that's any benefit to you,
My family's from North Central Missouri, and no team in Kansas City there. So I guess I got lucky to cheer for the Broncos
you got
rather
to be
than
blue.
the
It's got to be the Blues then, right?
it's the Blues. Yep.
See, I was kind of partial to the Blues as a kid because I was I was a blonde haired kid, so Brett
Mm-hmm.
Hall, Golden Boy. So
Yep.
I was kind of partial to the Blues because of the Golden Boy Brett Hall.
I absolutely adored Chris Pronger and Al McInnes. I played with them, and they were just dominating defense. It was a
But
lot
I
of
haven't
fun.
watched hockey since the '90s. It's been a long time.
Man, you got to bust out the old NHL video games and get the
95
nostalgia
hockey.
going.
I'm telling you, if esports was a thing, 95 NHL, and I don't say this lightly, I would have been able to make a living on that game.
Ah, man. Well, it's I always love NHL hits, the more arcade style. But is what it is. EJ coming in. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Jeremy's in here. Good to see you, Jeremy. You're actually watching the show today. Let's hope so. Is it hopefully you see us. Otherwise, we're just talking to a wall. Michael also saying good morning, DWI guys from Tucson, Arizona. Mark Hoynak coming in saying good morning to the best fans in the NFL. Absolutely, we love that. And we also got. He said, "I'm glad I got to participate blindfolded, though." Yeah, yesterday you probably really confused. Like, why is everybody dropping these super
Man,
chats
they're
and
getting
nothing's
super
happening?
chats and everything, and they're not even here. What a business this is.
Yeah, God, it's don't do anything really. I mean, God, Holden coming in. I didn't think Scott would be near me, just north of Atlanta. Yeah, Scott's. You should join us on Wednesday's shows where Scott. Not only we talk Falcons. Obviously you're a Bronco fan if you're here, but Scott talks about his our number one ad sponsor, the Realtor out there in Atlanta land.
Yeah, hold on. We got to be close. I'm an Alpharetta, Johns Creek, and I grew up in East Cobb, Marietta. So my neck of the woods for sure.
Awesome. That's never been. Someday I'll be out there, but
You'll be here soon.
yeah. Miguel coming in. Good morning, fellas. Good to see you. Mike Gibbons in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. And of course, Jacob Foster getting us started with the stars, always coming in and supporting us. One day Jacob's going to say something and we're going to just be blown, but he's waiting for that moment. Until then, though, supporting us and building up that capital. We appreciate you, Jacob. BX Broncos saying, what it do, gentlemen? Good
It
morning.
does. What it will be. What it is.
Absolutely. It's not raining, and it looks like we might actually have, God, I'm afraid to even say it, sun on Saturday. So we'll see. Um, William also saying love the Blues. You know, I like the Avs as well. I'm not a big hockey guy though. When you do as much football as Scott and I do, I'm going to speak for Scott here for a second. I don't have as much time to do as much other sports, honestly. Like Scott still the Braves. You know, you're still doing Chelsea, but like it's very it's not as much as I'd like, if that makes sense, because I want to be as best as I can in the football realm, and that just there's only so many hours in the day.
Well, so and your fandom takes a hit as your time becomes more scarce as you get a
Hmm.
little older. So I was a huge NBA fan in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
Coincided with the Hawks going in the tank in the 2000s, but something had to give. I in 2002 I started working in sports media professionally, and pouring that into football and college football kind of ate up my time for some of the other sports. And I like baseball a lot. And he says, why do you like baseball? I'm like, it's called the national pastime. It's not called the national most exciting 2 minutes in sports. It's the pastime in the summertime, and it's a perfect pastime. So
Yep.
was able to stay a Braves fan, but the other sports have kind of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, I feel that. NBA for me as well. If I cheered for anybody, it'd be the Bulls. If the Sonics came back, I would give it a go. Just because Sonics got a lot of vibes here in Seattle still. But speaking of vibes, Mark Schrader coming in saying, "Good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Mark. Thank you so much for the support, and we appreciate you keeping the lights on in here during the off season. This is the crunch time. We never know what the off season is going to look like, but we appreciate you coming in and supporting us. We also got Tashi coming in here saying, "Good morning, good afternoon for me." You all, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, to wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today. We
We
also
just went
got
all Truman Show on us right there.
yeah, there you go. That I know that I understood that reference. I'm the man coming in saying, "Let's go Canadian team, woo wee." And yes, I am a St. Louis Cardinals fan, so they're playing okay right now. The Brewers are really good though. So yeah, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about the Broncos schedule, and I'm going to pull it up here. I found a graphic that Lord knows where it was from, but it should do the trick. Hopefully, is that too small on the screen here? What's
No, that looks pretty good. Of
okay? There we go.
course, I
So
have a
the
27-inch monitor that I can see from here to here. But if you're watching this on your phone, we apologize. We will go through it, and after the fact, obviously for those of you listening, we'll talk about each team and not just say like, hey, next up on September 28th, graphic.
So, just looking at it before we go the game by game, a couple thoughts here for the Broncos is one thing that a lot of people have been saying, but Broncos are back, baby, and also Ethan is back with the 50 pounds for London meet and greet for the London Meet and Greet Fund. Record prediction 13-4. Well, you guys know me. If the Broncos end up 13-4, that means I had a few drinks or something before the show because I'm typically guarded with my predictions, and I tend to let Vegas guide my determination a lot. And Vegas right now has the Broncos at I think it was 10 wins, so I'll probably end up about 10 just naturally. But 13-4, God bless. And I don't know if you guys saw yesterday, Pete Schrager on Good Morning Football had the Broncos also. He's saying they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender, finishing 13-4. So would be awesome. We'll see how that plays out, and I'm very jealous of you guys going out there in London. Scott, how many you've been to London before? What was your favorite thing to do besides the soccer games?
Yeah, it's a cool city. One, it
Yeah,
makes you realize that world-class cities don't have to be trashy.
yeah, it's so
Um,
clean.
which is some of the things I've seen here in some of our bigger cities in the United States, because it's super clean.
Yeah,
It's super expensive, which is very common in big
yeah,
cities. I like being able to get anywhere and everywhere on foot, by with public transportation. Hop on the tube or whatever. I don't know what all it's called. It's different things you call them in different cities, but you can hop on the subways and the trains and get to wherever you want to go. And it's also very cool. It's very humbling, especially growing up in Atlanta where everything was burned to the ground about 100 years ago.
mm,
Around here, you say, oh, man, that's 100 years old. It's like, and then you get over to Europe, and you're like, yeah, it's 4,000 years old. It's just mind blowing. It's like
yeah,
this thing was built before our country. These huge cathedrals were built before our country was even a country.
yeah.
So it's very humbling when you travel to Europe. It certainly is. And I love going over to London. I'm looking forward to going over again.
Beautiful city. Architecture was awesome. Enjoyed it immensely. Did not go up in the London Eye. That's a regret I have. It was like we did 6 weeks in Europe, and that was the end of our trip. Very tail end, and we still had to go to Dublin yet. And it's like, do we want to save what was it like the $100 to go up on the big Ferris wheel? I guess so. Poor grad kid that was spending his life savings going on a trip to Europe, which I do not regret, but do wish had gone up in the eye. So thank you so much, Ethan. And other thoughts about the schedule here, something that we've talked about a lot on here is the prime time games for the Broncos. Man, I think right now, let me see, let's count it up. We have Monday night against the Seahawks, 1, Sunday night against the 49ers, 2. Thursday, Colts, 3. Monday night at LA, 4. Do we count the London game as prime time? That's like it's a national spotlight. It's a national game, I guess is how you put it. So 4.5. And then you have the Kansas City Chiefs. There's 5.5. And so 5.5 games there. And one of these games, I'm guessing here at the end, especially these Broncos' last 3 games here, at the Rams. That one might not be flex, but at the Rams, at Kansas City versus Chargers, I have a good feeling that one of these games has a very good chance to be flexed because this Broncos team is going to be in contention to the very end. So Broncos are back, tied with the most primetime games of any team. And any other thoughts just looking over this before we start going over the schedule, Scott? Anything you like, anything that concerns you?
Just, again, stay healthy. And let's see, that last half, those last games look tough, but you're hoping somebody has fallen off by then. And one of these teams that had high hopes has fallen off. Maybe it's the Cardinals. Maybe it's the Chargers. Maybe it's the Chiefs. But anybody, the Ravens could implode. But it's going to be important to get off to a fast start. And want to hit Lawrence here real quick. So remember Vaughn talking about practices. They always practice the same. And he's talking about an injury that happened with a possible star. What possible star got injured that I'm missing, Nick? I don't remember that. Should we change our practices since we didn't change our training staff? Well, all the practices are going to be changed anyway. Appreciate the stars, Lawrence. Everything's going to be changed. The tempo, the drills, everything's going to change as far as practices go. So, again, I think you'll see minor niggles kind of go away, especially early in the season as people are fighting for playing time and roster spots. There's accountability now. There's open competition now. So I think you will see all those things. But he references an injury, and I'm not sure who that was.
I think he's just talking hypothetically, like if an injury happens, should the practices change for Denver since the training staff and everything's changed? And I think the answer is no. I mean, you put in the work beforehand. You have experts in their field for a reason, and injuries are a part of the game. I mean, these are people who are putting incredible force on these joints and ligaments and whatnot, and injuries do happen. So I wouldn't change everything because one injury happens. It's just part of the game. You want to do what you can to prevent them and trust the experts in their fields to get those guys right. And also trust the players that they're doing everything right to get their bodies ready and in as good of shape as possible to protect themselves and be performing at tip-top shape. So let's keep it going here. Chloe coming in saying, too hard to pick nowadays. The parity is legit. Parity is legit, but the Broncos have the one thing that tends to make so parity is not as much of an issue. They have a quarterback. So it's going to be a lot more fun going through this and talking about the games. Jeremy doesn't care if they're night games. So let's flex all the games to 11 a.m. for all I care. You sound like me with the Iowa Hawkeyes. I do like a couple night games at Kinnick every year, but the best ones are the 11 a.m. kickoffs, and which is 9 a.m. out here. And just waking up and immediately having coffee and watching the game. That's a great way to start the day.
We called that California church.
Yes.
That's what I called it when I moved out there. But yeah, those primetime games for the gut reactions for this East Coast guy, it was going to be freaking brutal. I don't ever stay up that late, let alone 5 times, but it'll help that both of my kids will be in middle school. So I get to sleep in a little bit more, but I am not looking forward to the primetime games. In fact, I look at them and go, son of a.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay for it because especially out here on the West Coast, it wasn't as much as an issue in Iowa. But out here on the West Coast, the Broncos are competing with all the local teams for the time slot. So when I was Central Time Zone, I had a pretty good chance to catch the Broncos in that second afternoon slot. Out here, there's no chance in hell. I'm not seeing the Broncos unless I find them. I won't say the streaming somewhere. Not the best quality. Try having to click through different streams to find the game. But anyway, Alan Forster coming in here saying primetime sucks here in England. I get up at 1:30 a.m. then back to bed for a couple hours before going to work. They are tough days. Alan, God bless you, man. That's a true fan there. I think I would be catching the replay sometimes if that was the case. Nobody text me. I don't want to see anything. I'm going to watch it in the morning on, skip through the ads and enjoy it. So if I guess it was the playoffs or a big game, then I would probably do it, but I don't know if I could do it every week. And I'm a crazy person, so I can't.
Should we jump into predictions here to the way too early predictions?
Absolutely. One last thing I wanted to point out, I like how the schedule is kind of balanced here, and I'm very happy to see the bye week right in the middle, also coming right after the London trip. I know that they try to do that for teams, but not always the case. So happy to see the NFL did that. I guess it's a little bit of a bummer. They don't get to go home after that London and bye week. They have to go back on the road to Tennessee, but it is what it is. So let's get it going here. Broncos week 1 opponent, Monday Night Football, kicking off Russell Wilson homecoming, Monday, September 12th at Seattle. Scott, I'll let you start with this one. What are your thoughts on this game? Things you're looking forward to and outcome?
The roster's better, the environment's better, the team is better. Denver Broncos win this one fairly handily, in my opinion. Take care of business in Seattle.
Fairly handily.
The storyline won't be the game. The storyline will be the quarterbacks, and that'll be a little nauseating because the game will be decided before they kick off.
Yep. I'm a little bit worried for this game for a few reasons. Probably number one is just all the newness for the Broncos and the emotionally charged Russell Wilson. He's played in the biggest games possible, but this is going to be different. Standing on the other sideline, being in the other locker room, all the eyes in all of sports on you with this narrative. So I'm a little bit nervous for this game. I do think the Broncos are going to win in the end. I think the Broncos have the running game and the defense where in some games they're going to be able to not have to have Russell Wilson be a future Hall of Fame quarterback to win the game. And I think this could be one of those games. So I think Javonte Williams is going to have a great game. I think Melvin Gordon will have a good game. And the defense is going to, not to disparage the guy too much, but Drew Lock, if he's playing, will do what Drew Lock tends to do. And Patrick Surtain, Justin Simmons, and the like will take care of some business there. So I think the Broncos will win. I don't think they'll cover, but I don't give a hoot if they cover or not.
And I forgot about this part. I really did. Jeremy Shawn says, I'm worried because Nick is attending. So, once or twice is a coincidence. 8 in a row.
7.
Football,
but yep.
That's a curse. That's a strong one right there.
Yeah, guys, in case you didn't hear what she's talking about, I've been to 7 Bronco games live in my life, being from Eastern Iowa, and I've seen 7 losses. So not great. And BX Bronco Jedi saying Locke will throw 3 interceptions or 3 touchdowns.
3 TDs. He might, but 21 points isn't going to beat the Broncos on a regular basis this year.
Yeah. How about 3 defensive touchdowns? Come on, Bronco Jedi. Let's lean into that one. And BX Bronco saying Nick stay home. Sorry, guys. They already paid for the tickets. They were expensive, so not doing that. Malachi coming in saying the NFL doesn't want the Broncos in the playoffs because playoffs with the way they are set up, the last 6 games. Last 6 games are tough. Hopefully, it's going to come down to health, right? Like at the end there, one team, like if the Rams are out Aaron Donald or the Chiefs are out Travis Kelce, that's make or break those kind of games. So
it's a 3-3 home versus away split. And 5 of those 6 games, 4 of those 6 games are divisional games.
Yep.
That looks pretty balanced to me.
Yep. And it's just, this is the reality of the playing the AFC West. So it is what it is. So week 2, moving on here. Broncos take a head home back to Denver to play one of the contenders for the worst record in football this season in the Houston Texans. Houston Texans going to be better this season. I like what they did in the draft. I think they have some directionality here, moving on from the black cloud that was everything involving Deshaun Watson. But this team is still 2 years away from being very much. And I think this is going to be a pretty easy and decisive win for the Broncos.
Yeah, chalk it up. This one's a dub. The Houston Texans might get 1 win all year, and it ain't going to be it ain't going to be in Denver week 2. No way.
You're absolutely correct. And I'm going to pull up a note here real quick so I can be marking how many wins I have.
I've got it right now. That's what I'm typing up. I've got it in a spreadsheet, and it's auto adding and everything. So if you want to know, let me know. We both have them 2-0.
All right, now things get a little bit dicey. The San Francisco 49ers coming up next. Sunday night game in Denver. One team that San Francisco always beats the Rams, but San Francisco never beat Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. They had a very hard time against them, dating back all the way to, I guess the Michael Crabtree game. That was one they did win in 2012. But other than that, they had a hard time with it. So Sunday Night Football, I think this is going to be a Broncos win as well. I think the 49ers did well last season to get all the way to the NFC Championship game, but I would not pick them over the Packers. Even I think matchup-wise, they won that game. But I don't think they're a better team. Don't think they're better than Tampa Bay. Don't think they're better than the Rams. Don't think they're better than Dallas. Their offensive line lost a lot this year. Deebo Samuel is not very happy as well. Also, I'm curious about the turmoil that will be the quarterback position there because they traded up for the Trey Lance. They want to play Trey Lance. From what I'm hearing, a lot of people in the locker room want Jimmy Garoppolo. So this will be a tough game, and obviously it's a homecoming also for head coach Kyle Shanahan, who probably want to stick it to the Broncos. But I think the Broncos are going to win this one too. I think they're going to end up, this is a tougher game. This is the one that's been the toughest so far on this slate. But I think Denver wins this one by 1 touchdown.
Home game is the difference for me. So if this was in San Francisco, I'd go with the 49ers. I like the home field advantage here. There will be excitement. There will be a 2-0 start, and I won't say the mausoleum that was, the quietness that was Broncos last year. I don't blame them, and relatively speaking, relative to what Broncos country can be at Mile High Stadium, it wasn't what it could be, and it's going to be that again. I like the Broncos at home against the 49ers.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Do you think will Trey Lance be playing?
I don't know, man.
It's a tough one. Yeah, for sure. We'll see how that one plays out. I'm really interested to see, given how much the 49ers traded, and they can't get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Let me put it this way. With his mobility, I think he will play. Will he be the starter that gets the majority of the snaps and more than a quarter of the passing attempts? I don't know. Will we see him on the field? Probably see him in some packages with his mobility and stuff where they try and work him into and try and get a return on that humongous investment. And that could all change.
Yep.
Come June 1st, he might be the only quarterback on the roster.
Yep.
You just don't know. So, but as of right now, I don't think he'd be the starter. I don't.
Yeah. It's he's 2 years younger still than Kenny Pickett, so he's got some time. He's plenty young. James Hyatt coming in here saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott. Got my tickets to the Titans Broncos game in Nashville." Scott, you said you've been everywhere. Have you been to Nashville very often?
I've been to Nashville. We worked at CBS Sports. Was owned when CBS Sports 24/7 bought Scout. They are headquartered just south of Nashville, so I've been to Nashville a few times. I don't remember why I was there the first time, honestly. Was there for a Army All-American announcement. Patrick Turner was the kid's name, was up in that area, went to USC and was a 5-star guy. So I have been to Nashville several times. I like the Tennessee cities because I like the big rivers that go through them. It's just it's a cool thing. Knoxville's an awesome town with the river that goes right through it. So big Nashville's cool. It's gotten a little too big for its britches as a Vegas of the South, but it's still a cool town.
I will always laugh, and when I think about the draft in Nashville and the interviews of all the Bachelorette girls just freaking pissed off. God, why is the draft happening during my Bachelorette weekend? I just wanted to listen to country music. God, I'm sorry, Becky. Like it's gonna be okay. James Hyatt coming in. Oh, he said that already. We got Dom coming in, saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos and Broncos country. Last 7 games will be tough, but to be the best, you have to beat the best. So let's go, Mile High Magic." Absolutely. I got the reference again. I'm not a wrestling guy, but
I'm not ever sure there's a big enough age gap though. When I start going, 90s and before icons, I'm a little worried about it. But Nick's pretty good with these things.
Mostly not as good as Jeremy. Jeremy wears the hat for the references there.
I don't know how old Jeremy is, but he feels closer. So he's probably right between us. My guess would be right around 40 based on his ability to riff these 80s movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of 80s movies, Scott, I've never seen Top Gun, but there's a lot of new good reviews for the new Top Gun coming out. Should I watch that, chat? Is that worth it?
You should go see Top Gun first. So you always see the first one first. That's what my wife always gets mad. It's like, "Oh, you'd really like this book. It's the third, but it kind of is a standalone." I'm like, I don't care if it's a standalone. And that was pretty lucky guess. Pretty lucky guess. I wasn't a psych major, but I could have been. Pretty lucky guess. I'll read the first 2 just to get to the third. So you need to see Top Gun. Top Gun is a fun movie. It's not exactly, artistic cinema, but it's a fun setting of the time frame movie. It's a good 80s movie, good action, and it's a fun one. It's a legendary movie for a reason. It was fun.
I think it's on Netflix right now, so definitely rainy weekend eventually it'll be happening right now, but we'll lean into that. So it's a classic. Yeah, I'll see Top Gun. Don't worry, guys. I hated to.
It's quick. I watched it. It's one of those. It's like I watched it with my son. I'm like, there's certain movies in pop culture you just need to see. So when people are making these references, you know what the hell they're talking about, and there's a bunch of them that come from there.
Yeah, I'll see it, guys. Don't worry. Even my wife was like, "You haven't seen Top Gun?" So it's going to happen. So moving on to week number 4 here. Broncos' second bye game heading down to Las Vegas at the Death Star in Vegas to play the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that Denver has not beaten in way too long. Vegas is a good team. This is a tough game. This is another one that I'm not sure about. I'll let you go first, Scott, because I'm actually still pondering.
I'm starting to feel like I'm playing to the crowd here at this point, but it's the Josh McDaniels factor for me. I don't believe, even right now, the past history of the Raiders, growing up I was born in the 70s and 80s. They were the team of all decades. The Raiders were always good, but now it's like even when they start to look good, they just fall off a cliff. So this is a team that's capable of making a good run and coming together this year, or completely imploding and going 4-13. I'm going to bet that it's closer to the latter, and they're not ready to compete at the level that Denver is. I'm going to go Denver. They've built up some nice, even if they lose and we're wrong in week 3, they rebound or they ride the momentum. Either way. So I'm going 4-0, dude.
Oh, man, I almost want to be different than you, but I see the next 2 games as well. And so I want to kind of have some balance here. Not balance leaning right away, I guess, but
I don't feel good about that one. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. That's not one. I was like, let me see. It might be the Raiders by 1. I'd leave it alone. I'd start looking for over-unders at that point. But, this isn't one. If you've been in those pools where you have weighted points, you're like, you get to put 10 points on this one. This would be one of those. If there's 17 games, I might put 2 marbles on this one.
Yep. 100%. This is God, Denver needs to beat the Raiders. It's been too long. This is a team that it's Denver's biggest rival. I know we're kind of irritated at Kansas City right now. To be the best, you got to beat the best. But Kansas City is, the Raiders is Denver's biggest rival, and they've been embarrassing Denver the last 3-4 years. So it's time. I think Denver's going to go down to Vegas and get a win. Better quarterback. I think, who was it? Bucky Brooks. We talked about it last week. I was a week ago today, just getting crazy angry at them. Raiders, worst offensive line in the division, worst secondary in the division, worst back 7 in the division. I don't see how this team matches up that well. I mean, they still have good weapons. They have a good quarterback. They got probably the best, arguably the best edge rush duo in the league. The Chargers have a great one too, or in the division. But I think Denver does win this one. I think they're going to get a W here at Vegas. And if you're following along at home, folks, we have the Broncos going 4-0 to start the season. So, man, we'll see how that turns out.
2 legit teams in there. I mean, they're not that Seattle's bad. Houston's bad. But you're not starting with 3 of the 10 worst teams, for your 3-0 start. San Francisco and the Raiders are solid. They're good clubs. And then here come the Colts, week 5. The Colts are going to be really good this year. Again, really good. Yeah, no,
I'm going to go comments here real quick just to see if
they're all the comments are Top Gun. So just skip the comments.
Good morning, Sean. We love you, Sean. We do have a lot of Top Gun stuff here,
except too. Mark Schrader. We'll hit Mark Schrader in there. Mark Schrader is making a legitimate comment to he said we should be able to expose the Raiders back 7. And Ryan comes in and says, good morning, KJ Hamler's got the need for – it was a Top Gun comment too.
There it was.
He fooled me on that one. He fooled me. Mark says we should be able to expose the Raiders back 7. Yeah, hit the brakes, they'll fly right by.
Yeah, they are not very good. I do think Rock Yassin. No, I got it. I know some of Top Gun, but I have not actually seen it. Yeah, they don't have very good secondary. Jonathan Abrams been terrible for them. I did like the Trevon Moehrig pick last year, but he's just he's fine. Rock Yassin, their number 1 cornerback, not good. And their linebackers are also trash. I mean, people get upset about the Broncos linebackers. Broncos might have the best linebackers in the division. That's the state of the league, kind of, more or less, but it is what it is. So now we're moving on to week 5 here. Broncos playing Thursday Night Football against the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the loss here. I think that one of these 2 games, whether it be the Vegas game or the Colts game, going to be a loss. I need to split one of them. I just can't. I'm so tired of losing the Raiders, and I can palate a loss to the Colts a little bit more. That said, it's Thursday Night Football in Denver, which makes it pretty hard. All right, it makes it much harder on the Colts to get there and get a W, but Broncos I don't think they're going to start 5-0, so I'm going to pencil in an L here against the Colts, who are a very good team. And this is unfortunate because the Colts have a much easier schedule, much easier division, and a head-to-head loss against them could put you in a bind towards the end of the season. So this is a game where obviously you'd rather beat the Raiders, but this is one that could really make or break the season when you're looking back at the end of the year.
A lot of the same discussions about the Broncos are being said about the Colts. Now, the big difference here is Russell Wilson's 32, 33, and Matt Ryan's birthday is today. Happy birthday, Matt Ryan. He is 37 today. And he was on a bad team for a lot longer. So, a couple more seasons of Seattle being really bad and nobody's as excited about Russell Wilson coming in, but it doesn't change who Russell Wilson is. So I think the national media is actually underplaying how good a quarterback Matt Ryan can be. And the Colts are going to be tough. I think they are. They've had a good offseason. They had a good roster last year. If they can get a receiver or two to step up and give him some extra weapons, they could be really good this year. So honestly, Nick, I've got 5-0. I'm going to picture a win here for the same reason I picked the 49ers. It's a home game, short week. That said, 2-1 in that 3-game stretch is what you're hoping for. If you come out of this group 4-1, you're super happy. I don't know which one of these the Broncos would lose, since I picked all of them to win. I just don't think they'll win all 3. But they'd probably be favor. I would think they could win all 3. But I think 2-1 is more realistic here, even though I have them 5-0.
Yeah, absolutely. So another factor here about the Colts that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, when these games actually happen, we have the real season happening. We'll dive much deeper into these matchups. But the Colts lost their defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus. He's now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Yeah, thank you. And that's going to be interesting because the Colts have been a team that's been built on the offensive line and the defense. So really going to be interesting to see how that defense comes together. The thing I worry about most is that Colts run game. I do not think the Broncos have really the personnel to be a good team against the run. And if Denver can get a lead and pin their ears back with the pass rush and their smaller, lighter defense that they want to run, then that fits well. But if it's a close game and they can continually hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, I'm a little bit worried. Broncos do not have very good edge defenders as far as run defense goes. DJ Jones, for as good as he is against the run, he is not very big or long. And if you're trying to play dime constantly, you put yourself in a little bit of a bind against somebody like Jonathan Taylor, who is probably the best running back in football right now. No disrespect to Derrick Henry. It's just Derrick Henry is probably on the downward, and Jonathan Taylor is right in his prime right now.
And it'll be nice that this team won't be one-dimensional. If you get into a shootout, you can win a shootout. You can win a game where your offense isn't playing great because your defense ends up having to step up. So it's not like, we're behind 2 touchdowns. This one's over. You can come back. You've got the ability and the weapons in order to make a comeback on that. So, like we said, I don't know what the record's going to be. We're going to make predictions, but it should be a lot more fun team to watch, period. Before it's like, okay, it's 13-3 in the first quarter. I'm going to go cut the grass. This one's over. There's reason to be so many reasons to be excited for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gary Leeds Palmer coming in. Good to see you, GLP. Just got here, so I'll catch up later with you guys. But great show. Thank you so much, Gary. We appreciate you always for the support. Hope you're doing well, and hope your hospital stay was well in the rearview mirror. Hopefully your health is on the up and up, and you're feeling good with the summer sun starting to come through. At least we're manifesting that out here in the Pacific Northwest. So let's keep it going here. Next up, Broncos' second Monday Night Football. Last year, the Broncos had their first year without Monday Night Football, and it was something like since 1991 or something crazy like that. So since I'd been born, Broncos got 2 Monday Night Football games here in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. 2 out of the first 6 weeks, Monday Night Football. Denver heading to Los Angeles, in a place where their fans tend to travel pretty well to go to that game there in SoFi Stadium. And another benefit here is the Broncos, really big benefit, actually. It's not only is it a Monday night game, you played Thursday the week before, so you kind of have a mini bye week heading into this Chargers game. So really this first half of the schedule, considering the opponents the Broncos have and everything like that, sets up about as well as you could possibly hope. The biggest thing that makes it tough is Monday night, week 1. I think I'd probably prefer Sunday night for the Broncos' chances to win versus ample pressure on Monday and getting less rest than after that traveling. With all that said, though, I'm going to pick the Broncos to lose this one. I think the Chargers are, me, I've been pounding the Chargers all year. Eventually, one year I'm going to get it right, where the Chargers aren't going to be bitten by, curse. So I think the Chargers are going to win this Monday night game. We have, luckily, the week 18 game, against the Chargers as well. That might be a winner go home situation. We'll see if it can live up to last year's Chargers versus Raiders game, that winner go home. But I have the Broncos losing here back-to-backs, starting off the year 4-2, which, on the surface, oh man, 4-2, blah. But we take that every time, and the next 2 games look pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to the road game here for the same reason I picked the 49ers game and the Colts game in pretty good games here, pretty tight teams is what I'm trying to spit out. I'm going to go with the Chargers at home. What will help, though, here, Nick, is that extra few days of preparation. It's almost, I think you may have said that. I heard bye week in there.
Yep, it's like a mini
it's
bye.
almost like a bye week. You're right, because there's 10 days between games. So that's almost similar to having a bye with that extra preparation time. That said, there's a question in here, I think, and we'll hit Brian because he's the one that is talking about it. It says, how are so many on the Chargers bandwagon? It seems every year a stacked roster. Same old Chargers. Didn't they lose to the Texans in week 16 last season with the playoffs on the line? So they're chokers, okay? So you don't want to get them early. You might want to get them late. I kind of said this is your New York Mets, making a baseball reference. It's like, oh yeah, it's June, it's July, the Mets are hot. They'll screw it up. It's the Mets. They'll fall apart at the end. And when I thought of that, I'm like, wait a minute, that's kind of how y'all all feel about the Chargers. And there's something to that. But if you get them early, they haven't had a time to fall apart yet, and they can be pretty tough. So on the road, 5-0, super psyched division game to hand the first L. And I think I kind of agree with you here, and then I think it comes out, and they're 4-2. But like I said, with that 3-game run, end of September and beginning of October, 2-1 would be good there. I just don't know which one of those. I think the Broncos should win every one, but they won't win every single one. So yes, I go loss here too. That puts through 6. You've got 4-2, and technically I've got 5-1.
Absolutely, and I take either of those.
Appreciate the super chat, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Chargers last year versus the Texans, defense kind of fell apart. A lot of injuries. They had Kenneth Murray playing edge, and my God, it was a assault to the eyeballs. It kind of looked like that. It was very similar to the Browns game where the Browns ran at Malik Reed every time.
And
just could not hold.
You wonder a little bit, Nick. It was an overtime loss to the Chiefs the week prior. You know, how much did that take out of them? You know, mentally, emotionally, physically, where they're just like, expletive. It's a possibility. It's still no excuse. But then, to have that loss and then to have to sit on it over Christmas and then travel to Houston. But I agree with you. That one's pretty inexplicable, and you still had it in your hands. But they lost 3 out of 4 to close the season last year after sitting there 7-5 and looked like a shoe-in, 8-5 and looked like a shoe-in to make the playoffs. They lose 3 out of 4. Who'd they beat? The Denver Broncos.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, man. The Chargers are good. Colts are good. This is a tough schedule, but it's much easier in the first half. So I feel pretty good about the Broncos being 4-2 for me, 5-1 for you. Next 2 games, New York Jets, Sunday, October 23rd. The Jets have done a lot to surround Zach Wilson with talent. I don't think they might not be done yet. We might see a Deebo Samuel trade might still happen before the season starts. We still could see some movement there, which would change things a bit, make the Broncos week 3 feel a little bit better. But this game, I feel like we should not overlook the Jets. I like Robert Saleh as a good coach. He's done good things in the past, and I like a lot of what the Jets have done defensively as well as surrounding Zach Wilson with talent. But this is a home game for Denver, especially coming off what we have as the loss versus the Chargers. I do have the Broncos winning, but I don't think the Jets are not the laughingstock that they had been in the previous few seasons. I think this is a team that's more likely picking 6-10 versus 1-5 in the draft.
They'll beat somebody they shouldn't, but it's still the Jets on the road. October 23rd, coming off what could be back-to-back losses, 2 out of 3. The Broncos get right, and they whip the Jets. It doesn't matter if we overlook them or not. It's making sure that the players are on point. They will be. This is a win.
Yep.
This is a win. If you lose this one, you can't lose this game. Yeah, you just can't. You know who I'm not going to overlook? Broncos Sunrise. Coming in the orange Sunrise, the yellow sun, coming in yellow with a $20 super sticker. Broncos Sunrise, appreciate you so much. We've been doing this a little over a year now, and you have been with us from the beginning, showing the support, and we can't say thank you enough. We don't do Mount Rushmores yet. We haven't been around long enough, but you're certainly one of the first names around for us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We also have Lawrence coming in who we appreciate saying, what would be our record worst case injury wise? I mean, 3-14.
0-17.
0-17. Like if your quarterback gets hurt and you're playing Josh Johnson, then yikes. Good luck. Enjoy the top 10 pick, Seattle. But everyone knock on wood to that one. Just make some rosary circles or whatever the heck you want to do. Pray to the gods, old
No,
and new.
that's when you get on the horn mid-season and overpay to try and save your season and get one of those backup quarterbacks that can play a little bit.
Yeah. Oh God, even don't want to say that, but yeah, it's a quarterback league.
Maybe.
Yeah, not what you want. God, let's not let that happen. We have KB82 coming in saying you can go to one game home and away. Which game do you pick? Opener, Seattle, the Jags and London's Rams for Christmas, or another game? If I could pick for the Broncos, I mean, I'm already going to the Seahawks game, and I think that's going to be great. So I'm picking that one. The other one I think would be.
But that's not the one you would. That's the one that's a pick of convenience.
But it's also an amazing game, and Seattle has a cool stadium, and also Seattle is absolutely beautiful in September. So shout out to that. The prices suck, but it definitely is convenience too. But I get to leave work a little early on Monday too. That's gonna be great. The other one that I would probably pick out of these games, I'm gonna go Raiders at home. The November 20th game. I have not seen the Broncos play the Raiders yet. I despise the Raiders. Like I really actually hate their entire being and with all my essence. And November still can be okay weather in Denver. I'm not really looking to freeze my buns off in Denver in the stands on December 11th or January 8th. So those are the two games that stick out to me. One home away, Seattle on the road, Russell Wilson homecoming, Monday Night Football, going to be a hoot. And then the other one is the Raiders game. Screw the Raiders.
The away game's easy for me, London.
Yeah.
For me, and honestly, I can't remember the last NFL game I actually went to. Going to the games I went to a ton of them in my 20s and probably early 30s. Had season tickets and, went to a bunch of stuff. I don't really care about going to the games. I'm an old crotchety dude that just listen, I don't want to fight traffic. I don't want to have to be there 2 hours early. I don't want to have beer spilled on me from the person behind me. I don't want to have to listen to the idiots that don't understand the game shouting out stuff beside me. I'd rather watch it on a big ass screen that I could have bought 4 of for the price of a ticket. And I could watch 3 games in that day instead of having to pour in going one game. So the game day experience, not for me so much. That said, I would pick something based on, hey, what can I do after the game? So I'd want to be in Denver in January so I could head up to the mountains and go skiing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I'm not much of a skier, so hasn't been for me. Brian Greenfield said, you see injuries week 16. Herbert as good as everyone's claiming. They would beat Texans, I think, we sweep the Chargers and split KC and Las Vegas. We play better than them versus Joe Burrow, win that week 16 game. Week by week, sometimes there can be ups and downs still. And Justin Herbert, I think, had a phenomenal game. I think they still put up 30.
I was just about to look it up. I'm like, if Justin Herbert is as good as you're saying, it was behind, actually. He was 27 for 35, 336 yards, a touchdown, and interception.
Well, how many points did they put up?
Not a great game for him. Let me see. The final was 41-29. So you give up 41 points, and some of that may have been on the interceptions.
Yeah,
may have led directly to those, but it's a team game. I don't necessarily look at the quarterback wins and losses so much as I do the overall the big picture. When I'm looking, one of my favorite stats for quarterback, my 2 favorite stats for quarterback are your accuracy numbers and your touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert had 66% accuracy and he threw 38 touchdowns against 15 INTs. That's pretty solid in a 17-game season. The kid can play, no doubt about that, and I don't think he's going to get worse.
He's really good. That week 17 game last year, week 18 game against the Raiders, where he was 4 for 4 on 4th downs of 10+ yards, and every single throw was they do the next gen probability of hitting the passes, and they were 10% or less on every one, and he nailed all of them. I mean, that's really good. He's a really good quarterback, unfortunately.
Yeah, and did they choke it away? Yes, they did. Yep. They choked away the playoffs, no doubt. Yep. And if they do it again, they'll be looking for a new coach.
Yep. And if the Chargers stink and Justin Herbert's terrible, you can say, hey, Nick, you're wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. So here we got one, too. How far is Herbert from being Burrow? We got to keep up. I would take Herbert over Burrow. Herbert's 2 years younger. I think he's more toolsy. And
that doesn't change the question, though. It's just you automatically assume that it means ahead. So how far away is he from being Burrow? That could be a go backwards, too, because I agree with you. I'd rather have Herbert than Burrow, without a doubt.
Trendy name right now because Bengals are fun to talk about. They've been terrible forever, and they're coming off a Super Bowl. They're good, and Burrow's got all the personality in the world, where Justin Herbert tries to sneak on the field so the social media team doesn't see him. Totally different. But I think Herbert's far more toolsy, just as good of an athlete, much bigger, and much more on his back for that Chargers team. So we'll see how it plays out. They're both great quarterbacks, Scott. You'd be happy to have either, and it's unfortunate that both are in the AFC. Both of them are franchise quarterbacks that are going to be good for the next decade, probably with how they play. So moving on
We got
now.
15 minutes left,
Yeah.
and we're not halfway through the schedule. So we're
Yes.
not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. Wake up early, get your eggs, get your Bloody Marys. Broncos make a mess of the Jaguars in London.
Yep. They had a terrible offseason. They overspent on a lot of teams. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be better this year. I think Doug Peterson's a better coach for them, but this is still a team that is devoid of talent, despite how much they've spent on linebackers. Of Aluakon, Muma, Devin Lloyd. It's not going to matter when Russell Wilson's throwing all over you and you're getting after their quarterback. So Broncos going to win that one. Bye week. This one's a real toss-up. I don't know. Mark Schrader coming in saying 11-6. That's pretty close to where I think.
And playoffs, big season. Obviously, if you go 11-6, you're making the playoffs. But big stars for Mark coming in. Speaking of one of our biggest benefactors of Broncos for breakfast, so big stars coming in 11-6 and the playoffs. And then what?
I'll take it. Yeah, God. Just get in. We'll see what happens from there. It'll be nice just to be in the playoffs this year, as sad as that sounds, considering how far the Broncos have fallen. But we're back. We're climbed back up, baby. So Broncos right now, I have them at 6-2, and you have them at 7-1.
I do.
Okay.
I do. Right. I think 6-2 is about right, though. Like I said, there's that 3-game stretch where if I'm picking them singularly, I'm picking a win in each one. But, as a math guy, you know how to calculate probability. And if I've got a 60% chance of win 3 times, it's 0.6 times 0.6 times 0.6 to come up with your probability of winning all 3 of them. And it ends up being about 20%.
Yeah.
So I don't think they win all 3 of those, but I predicted a win in all 3 of those.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense for you probability fans. Sorry, I was told there'd be no math.
We're doing factorials in here. The fact of the matter is, next game is the Broncos at the Titans. Broncos get coming off a bye week, which is very helpful to them. But I think this is going to be a tough game for them. Derrick Henry, I need to see what this Broncos defense looks like as far as against the run. And I am concerned that I don't know if they have the horses up front on the defensive line at the edge to be able to handle that, especially with Ryan Tannehill's ability to hold the edge at bay and contain with the bootleg. So I'm going to go with the Titans here in this one. In an unfortunate game, a very close one, but I think the Titans come away. And another one, factor in this game, I think Jeffrey Simmons might eat Lloyd Cushenberry on the field. Might eat him alive. So, woof.
We will see who's the starting center at that time. It might not be Cushenberry, so that could be interesting. Could come up with an upgrade by that point. But I'm going to go again on the road game in Nashville. I'm going to go with the Titans here as well for the same reason I picked the Broncos to beat the 49ers and the Colts. Equally matched teams, playoff previews. I'm going with the home team on this one. We'll see how it plays out. I feel like Tennessee should get a little bit more of a challenge from the Colts in their own division, but they still don't have the tough – at least last year. I haven't looked at who they're playing against. Mm-hmm. They had a fairly easy schedule, but then they do something like beat the best teams on their schedule and then lose to the worst teams. So this would be a game they would certainly be up for with the Broncos coming in if they are anywhere close to what we think they are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's keep it going here. We got the Raiders coming in here November 20th. I'm going to go Broncos again. Screw the Raiders. Don't need to say much more. I don't respect them. I don't like them. Derek Carr's eyeliner can run on the field for all I care.
If I picked them to win in Vegas, I'm definitely picking them to win in Denver. So the clean sweep of the Raiders. That's Nick 8-3, Scott 9-2.
Yep.
But I don't believe in that. I went through the math to explain why. I hate saying 9-2 when I don't think, but individually, yes, I think they should win those games. Just not all 3.
Now we're at probably one of the easiest 4-3 games on the schedule for the Broncos this season, and it's a road game, which I guess that's okay. The Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, Mark Rule, Carolina Panthers, November 27th at Charlotte. I'm going to give a dub to the Broncos here. This is a game where, honestly, Russell Wilson hopefully doesn't throw it over 30 times. We just hand it off and choke the life out of the Panthers and beat the hell out of them.
And you're playing in Charlotte in November, not September 12th. It could be brutally hot and humid on September 12th. It'll be really nice as long as it's not pouring down rain in November. So you're getting a team that's already looking for a new coach, asking questions about their lame duck quarterback. Maybe Corral's in and you're facing a rookie. They're already you're making plans. We're already talking mock draft for the Carolina Panthers. Win. Dub.
Next, a little spicy. Team that had the most injury or least injury luck of any team in like the last decade. I think I saw an article from Football Outsiders. The Ravens, another team that puts the Broncos in a weird position with their run defense, especially with Lamar Jackson, just totally changes the math. I think this is going to be too much for them. Back-to-back road games at Baltimore. Another game where, God, I'm worried about the matchups later in the season. We already had them losing to the Colts, losing at Baltimore. That could make or break getting in or out of the playoffs, and seeding too, if we're not even worried about in or out. But I have the Ravens winning this one. This is just too tough of a matchup back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, the road game in Baltimore, you know how much I like that division, especially the Steelers and the Ravens, especially on the road. They're just tough. They're just old school, smash you in the mouth football teams, and they are just tough to beat year after year, especially on the road. Malachi calls it a trap game. I don't consider that definition for me as a trap game. Let's see. A trap game is usually when you've got, a team you might overlook between a couple of good teams. Baltimore's a good team. A road game's a good team. Denver likely, depending on how Baltimore is, if they're anywhere near 500, Baltimore will likely be favored in this game. That's not necessarily a trap game. A trap game's a team that you're overlooking. You can't overlook Baltimore, not ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So where are we at schedule-wise? I think I'm at 8-4.
You are at 9-4, and I'm at 10-3.
I'm at 9-4. Wow, already at 9-4.
13-13, 4 games left. How can that be? 1, 2, 3, 4. I must have.
I think I'm at 8-4
on accident. We already counted. See, I already screwed this up. Week 13,
I have written down for me.
We were 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're on 12. So I may have counted an extra win in there.
I have myself at 8-4.
Yeah, and I put an extra win in there somewhere.
The bye week. Broncos win the bye, baby.
They won the bye for sure. Yeah, I screwed this up somewhere. Let me take week 7 out because that's whatever. All right, move on.
Now Broncos at home. Kansas City. Is this the time the Broncos finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home? I'm going to go with the loss here. I think the Broncos are going to lose another game at home. 2 games at home this season, which is pretty good so far. I'm the newsflash. I'll just say the next one too. They're going to beat the Cardinals. Cardinals are a paper tiger by the end of the season. Totally different team by the end. So I think Denver will lose that home game, unfortunately, against Kansas City, and then end up beating the Arizona Cardinals the week after. So that puts me at the Broncos at 9-5.
I'm going to go with the dub over the Chiefs at home. Get a split with the Chiefs. So it's later. You've got the ammo to be in any kind of game with them. You can be in a shootout. You can be in a grinded out type of game. You've got the team that can beat them in multiple different ways. And this will be a get up for it game. Lick your wounds after coming back from Baltimore. That's the problem with that is you play Baltimore. You're beat up. You're banged up a little bit. So get right, come home, get in the altitude, and end that streak on December 11th.
So, what about the Cardinals?
Win. The home win. We'll see. The Cardinals have a nice flashy record, and then they haven't finished all that strongly. And if that downward trend from last year continues, this could be a team that ends up finishing with 7 wins, 7-10 range. But the home, I think you got to take care of business at home, and I think the Broncos are going to take care of business at home. It could be an 8-0, 9-0 type of season at home for the Broncos this year.
The Cardinals feel like a team that could easily implode this season. Kyler Murray stuff going on there with contract, Cliff Kingsbury on the very edge, Steve Keim on the edge. I don't think they're a very good roster either. So that's what happens when you draft linebackers in the first round and they bust. You're weak at a lot of premium positions, like the Cardinals. So, okay, I have the Broncos right now at 9-6 with 3 games left. And Christmas at Los Angeles Rams. I have the Broncos getting a loss here, unfortunately, falling to 9-7 on the season. I think it's just the Rams are a good team still, and I don't know. They're going to have to pick some wins and some losses too, but I think the Super Bowl champs going to give them a little respect here with the Rams winning.
Yeah, I've got the Rams in this one too on Christmas Day. Won't spoil Christmas. There's no shame. You've already got, a bunch of wins, and I'm up 2 wins on you. How did that happen? Week 14, I picked the Chiefs. Again, and the Chiefs game was the other split. So I've got the Rams in this one on Christmas Day at home. So going into another holiday, 2023, the first day of 2023 on Sunday at Kansas City.
Screw it. We're going to go for a win here. The Broncos losing Kansas City at home, but I'm going to have them going into Arrowhead and getting a W. I think Kansas City is going to be feeling themselves a little bit, and I think this is a game Broncos feeling a little bit desperate sitting here at 9-6. They're going to go into Arrowhead and get the W and stun Kansas City. Broncos fans a little bit bummed. Probably I picked against the Broncos at that home game on December 11th. I was just waiting up for this moment, getting the W here against the Chiefs here on January 1st. Happy New Year. Go screw yourself, Kansas City.
I put the L on there, losing on the road at Kansas City. Back-to-back losses. People are wondering, they're asking the questions, are the Broncos for real? They're limping into the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Time to get right against the Chargers to close out the season. They close out the season with a dub. If you add them all up, I've got 12-5. But again, I think that 3-game stretch in September, the 3 that I picked as wins, I think take them all singularly. Broncos should be favored to win each one of those games, but I don't think they will. So even though I have 12-5, I'm going to pick 11-6 for the final record, which is about right, since I said the over-under for wins and losses for this team should be about 10.5.
And I'm going to have the Broncos beating the Chargers too to finish off the season 11-6. The number I had circled in my head before we even started this exercise. So falling there pretty squarely is good. A few games, we talked about could flip either way. That first game against the Raiders, that game, I guess the 4 games from weeks 3 through 7 come out 3-1 there, 2-2, not the worst. Don't go 1-3. And then the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 of the last 6 games, incredibly tough as well. So Broncos get here at 11-6. That's a good season. And hopefully it'll be pretty good. And we have a Spade giving me a hard time here saying, Nick, are you actually a Broncos fan? I do cheer for the Broncos. But that's fine. And I don't have 7 losses. I counted it here. I'm at 11-6 for the Broncos. I think you guys were assuming I was going to have the Broncos lose that game against Kansas City there on the road. Hell no. I got to win there for the Broncos. So 11-6 for the Broncos.
As a lifelong Atlanta sports fan, when you pick these, you're like, loss. If you start picking wins, they question if you're actually a fan or not. It's like, have you not watched this team? Have you not suffered for years?
Yeah, that's PTSD for you guys, man. That's one day. The Falcons, I think, are on the right foot right now. Good draft. We'll see what happens. We'll be talking about the Falcons tomorrow. Also,
nowhere to go but up. I think they were 31st in the ESPN's power rankings yesterday, and I've got a guy I have to answer on Facebook. He's been chatting with me. Just, there's some people that are just so deluded. They're like, oh, we won 7. We should get better and win 10 this year.
Yeah.
You're young, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one for the Falcons this year, but bouncing off the bottom. That's not the worst.
10-6 to 12-5 sounds right to me for the Broncos.
Yep.
That's your window. And either of those should get you in the playoffs.
10 wins is a little scary with the quality of the AFC. And that's also another reason I have them at 11. 11 will get you in. 10 with the 17-game schedule. 10 used to get you in when it was 16-game schedule. Now it's a little less probable with the extra game, but we'll see.
Did we have a 10-win team not make the playoffs last year?
I think maybe the Chargers were 10 wins and didn't get in.
No, I think they choked on it and finished with 9. They finished 9-8. Yeah, they finished 9-8.
Okay, well, no, then the answer is no. But last year,
because the Bengals snuck in at 10-7, winning towards the end. So, but again, you don't want it to come down to, okay, I need some help. This happens. This needs to happen. You want to control your own destiny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And 17-0 says Luke, right? Kenneth saying,
absolutely. Why not?
Saying, I have the Broncos losing every good game. No, I don't. I have them winning the game that I'm at, which is great. And I have them closing out the season with 2 wins in a row. So feeling really good about that. So 11-6. Vegas has them at 10. So actually I am more positive than what Vegas sees this team at right now. It's a tough schedule, a tough season, but we'll see how it plays out. So a lot of fun to do this, a lot of fun to go through this. If you guys are going to be in Seattle for that week 1 game, hit me up on Twitter and make sure you're following us on Twitter. First, let's get to Mark though. Mark's saying hopefully the new coaches look at how Fangio played the Chiefs. I thought we played them well defensively. We did play them well defensively. That's they played suffer ball, but they didn't give it.
Here we go, Nick. They're going to look at how the Bengals played the Chiefs and got after it because the Bengals got the ball back. Just slowing them down, so it took them a while to score. And you limited possessions. Russell Wilson wants the damn ball. You want the ball in his hands. You want to attack, and you want to turn. If they score, they score. But you want to get after them. and maybe you get hot. You got a hot pass rush, but I don't think you're just looking to play bend but don't break the whole time and let them eat up 40 minutes of time of possession. I think you want to attack and you want to get the ball back to your offensive hands.
100%.
So watch the Bengals game again. That's the blueprint that people are going to be throwing. Well, having a couple pretty good pass rushers is a good blueprint for anybody, but get after them.
Yeah.
Get after them.
100%. Will be fun. And he said, Nick said 9-7, but I think he meant 9-6. I'm not sure. Yeah, I did. I did mean 9-6. I had it meant 9-6. So I had the Broncos finishing there 11-6. So it'll be good. And E. Gibson saying, I'm from Seattle. I wish Denver the best and hope Wilson has a great season for you guys. Thank you so much, Gibson. I am in Seattle as well. And it's beautiful, hopefully, at that time of year. We'll see. Let's avoid the smoke. But guys, we got to get on out of here. We've been here for an hour and I got to get on into work. So we appreciate you. Make sure you're following Scott on Twitter. Scott is at Scott Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook communities at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And please like, subscribe, and share to the show. If you haven't liked yet, we got a bunch of people in here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up or heart on the way out, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, and we'd appreciate that. We'll be live on Scott's channel tomorrow, and we have a big one coming in here from Ethan. Go ahead, Scott.
Got no excuse now, Nick. Ethan said, go watch Top Gun. So we are back on my channel tomorrow morning. I'll give you tomorrow morning, but buy Broncos for breakfast Thursday morning. You better have put 90 minutes into Top Gun. That's all it takes. 90 minutes.
I'll work it out with the wife. Right now, we are watching the Flight Attendant on HBO, and if you haven't seen that yet, it's actually
like that. I don't want to hear about your Grey's Anatomy marathon or stuff like that when we're talking Top Gun. And besides, the women absolutely love Top Gun. The volleyball scene is legendary for a reason. So, women and the ladies of MHH, back me up on this one. I'm pretty sure the women enjoyed Top Gun as much as the action in motorcycles and airplanes that the men did. I was a little bit on some butts. Yeah, that was a good one. I was a pretty big, again, you mentioned the Golden Boy, Brett Hall. I was a Val Kilmer fan. Real Science, awesome movie. I know Jeremy likes Real Science. He'd be crazy not to, and Jeremy's not crazy. Again, I want to just say 13 wins with the 13-0-0 from Ethan and DWI guys. Love you, man. Appreciate you coming in here and supporting us all the time. We'll see you in the morning on my channel, which will lead into Becker's Broncos Bytes on this channel as Kim Becker opens up her podcast. So we'll talk some overall NFL stuff, some Falcon stuff tomorrow, and then we'll lead into more Broncos stuff at the top of the hour tomorrow. So come see us tomorrow, and then we'll send you on over to talk with Kim as soon as we're done.
All right. See you guys. Have a good one. Choose kindness, choose compassion. Go Broncos.